Now, if the Turnpike does get built, many businesses are in jeopardy of losing their property. OU Nightly's Avery Gorman has more on how a honeybee farm would be affected.
A farm in New Walla housing our buzzing friends is in danger of losing their homes because of a new turnpike. Adkin Farm sits on 50 acres of land and is home to 42 beehives. The turnpike that is proposed to come to the area will take off the eastern and southern edges of their property, meaning they will lose around 10 acres of their land.
My wife and I have just really fallen in love with this place, and there's lots of people, like my next door neighbor's been here a lot longer than I have. He says it's his prized possession.
While it is expected that OTA will compensate for the land lost, it's the damage to the bees as well as other wildlife they are worried about.
I mean, we just keep taking these habitats, and these are delicate habitats that there's not a lot of them left. I mean, we've got to quit displacing wildlife at some point, and especially when I think we can do it other ways.
The Adkins used the honey as income, and they even had plans to build on the land. Now they aren't exactly sure.
The noise will be a big factor for the bees. The bees would not like the vibrations. It would make my business really a lot harder.
The Atkinsons searched for 7 years to find land that was close enough to Oklahoma City, but enough land to house the honeybees. They purchased this land in 2021, and it's possible they could lose part of it now. Avery Gorman, OU Nightly.
Citizens who oppose the Turnpike can contact their legislator or Governor Kevin Stitt himself.
Hello, thanks for joining us for OU Nightly. I'm Jesse Klinger.
And I'm Harry Robinson. We begin tonight with Norman residents making their voices heard at the state capitol.
They're holding a rally against proposed turnpike that would cut through Norman. OU Nightly's Colby Terrell joins us live from Oklahoma City with the story. Colby?
Catch up with both residents and legislators about their thoughts on the current plan. Residents in East Norman believe this new turnpike is unnecessary.
Aside from there not being a need to put a turnpike, a toll road through our town, the project itself doesn't make any sense.
And those residents aren't as worried about a faster route as they are about losing their homes.
They're trying to take our homes.
Roberta Provost was outspoken at the recent town hall for Ward 5 against the turnpike. She's back today to make sure they know what the OTA is taking from her.
They can't compensate us for something we don't want to sell, and that has all our memories, our Christmases, our birthday parties.
And many felt that the message they needed to get through was what the turnpike could do to both wildlife and humans.
This turnpike would forever decimate our drinking water supply at Lake Thunderbird.
Candidate for Governor Mark Sherwood spoke on the matter as well.
Folks, this administration doesn't care about you, or they would be here supporting you right now.
The rally's main message was to not give up and keep pushing against the OTA.
So what we can do is to say no, 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 and hell no to this project.
They will be continuing their fight against the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority in any way they can. The show of numbers was just their way to say that they want to keep their The proposed project has the turnpike running from north to south in order to bypass I-35. Reporting live from the Capitol, I'm Colby Terrell, OU Nightly.
Today, Cleveland County Commissioners will vote on a resolution involving a turnpike that would run right through Norman.
News 9's Caleb Califano explains the project and why commissioners are concerned. Caleb, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Robin and Lacey. Well, today commissioners will vote on a resolution to whether or not condemn the projected plan of that turnpike expansion that would run right through their county. Now, since its announcement, the $5 billion Access Oklahoma project has caused a lot of tension and raised many questions, especially from Cleveland County residents. Many are concerned about the environmental and residential impact the turnpike could have. The proposed plan would have a south extension expanding the Kickapoo Turnpike down to I-35 near Purcell, and another part would run right past Lake Thunderbird in Norman's rural 5th District.
The proposed routes make no engineering sense. They make no economic sense. They make no environmental sense. The proposed routes are geologically destructive.
In today's resolution, Cleveland County Commissioners questioned the impact of the construction on things like properties, wildlife, and the watershed of Lake Thunderbird. It'll also ask the OTA to conduct a more extensive and comprehensive due diligence phase before finalizing plan. And county commissioners do plan to meet at 1 this afternoon. We're live in Oklahoma City. Caleb Califano, Oklahoma's Own News 9.
Cleveland County Commissioners today approve a resolution questioning the basis for the new turnpike proposed to run through the county. They're also asking for more transparency. Fox 25's Wayne Stafford is live at the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority right now. Wayne, any update from OTA on the number of homes this project would actually impact?
Well, Dan, no update at this time, and it could be a while before we get one. The OTA tells me that they won't know for another 8 to 12 months. This as many who are in the path of this project are fighting for their homes.
I don't want to move. I love my house.
Emotions running high at today's Cleveland County Commissioners meeting. The crowd that gathered in protest of the South Extension Turnpike holding signs saying stop the OTA.
This is the first meeting. I've been to 4 meetings already, down at the Capitol and everywhere. This is the first meeting that we were heard. I spoke to the governor. He shook my hand. I held his hand to try to explain to him what this is doing to us. He didn't care.
Commissioners today approving unanimously a resolution asking for more extensive research and transparency from the OTA on the proposed project, a vote that saw applause. But many are still worried they could lose their home.
Just not knowing why this route, it didn't make sense. We live in between 2 lakes. I thought for sure nothing would ever come through that area. But it was everything we dreamed it would be. It was supposed to be our home.
We spoke with Jessica Brown with the OTA. She says there's an important reason for this extension.
Interstate 35 is extremely congested. We're seeing more and more wrecks on I-35, especially from Purcell up to the Turner Turnpike on I-44. We have to have a reliever route from I-35 and I-44.
Brown goes on to say that this project is unavoidable.
Asking someone to leave their home is the most difficult aspect of transportation. We don't want to do that, but we have to. We don't have an option.
But for someone facing the loss of their home, there is no justification.
If I wanted to live in the city, I'd move in the city. We specifically picked out there because you had at least 5 acres and you had country for my kids to go out and run, and I don't have to be afraid. But the OTA, when you look at them, they just look at you like, who cares? It's like they have no hearts.
Now, there still is a lot of time before this project starts. Brown tells me that it could be at least 7 years before they begin construction. She also tells me that homeowners will get the very best price on their property. Now, as you just saw, this is still a very heated topic. Of course, we'll continue to follow it and have the very latest updates. Reporting here in Oklahoma City, Wayne Stafford, Fox 25 News.
County commissioners giving a big thumbs down to a planned turnpike extension there. It's the latest in what's becoming a real fight to keep the turnpike out of the county. News 4's Natalie Clydesdale is live tonight with more. Natalie.
Today's meeting was packed with Cleveland County residents who tell me they could not be more thrilled that today's resolution passed unanimously. They tell me it's a great feeling to have people in authority positions on their side.
They're taking our homes that we built and want to live on the rest of our lives.
A packed house at the Cleveland County Board of County Commissioners meeting Monday afternoon.
The Oklahoma Turnpike Authority needs to stop its arrogant, belligerent, and antagonistic plans to shove unneeded and unwanted toll roads down the throats of Oklahoma citizens.
But after weeks in turmoil over the proposed Turnpike expansion project, distressed residents finally feeling like they got a win.
It was really important to see the local support from our county commissioners.
Just one more nail in the coffin.
The board unanimously passing a resolution opposing the construction of the proposed project. which would add a new turnpike along Indian Hills Road connecting Newcastle to Norman and extending the Kickapoo Turnpike west of Lake Thunderbird.
We're going to be a part of this with you.
The resolution saying the board cannot, in good faith, on behalf of the public trust, condone construction of the project.
It's great to see people in positions of authority and our leaders say, yes, we want to be with you.
It sends a message that we're growing.
It also calls on the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority to do more research as residents fear hundreds of homes could be impacted, and the OTA agrees that's necessary.
This resolution really recognizes the importance of impact studies, which we agree they are very important.
But the agency also stands by the importance of expanding the turnpike.
The annual average daily traffic and how much it has grown exponentially in the last several decades. We have to do something. We believe this route is our pathway to relieving that congestion.
Despite today's resolution passing, the residents say this fight is far from over, and many of them plan to attend all future meetings about this project. Live in Norman, Natalie Clydesdale, Oklahoma's News 4.
The two candidates, incumbent Mayor Bria Clark and her opponent Larry Heikkila, disagree on several topics of concern, but the turnpike isn't one of them.
I will stand with my residents and we will fight it because there has to be other solutions.
Incumbent Mayor Bria Clark speaking out against the turnpike, saying she has concerns about the construction.
What I'm concerned about is the destruction of homes, the displacement of people, especially as the housing market is as fragile as it is.
Clark says the residents of her city have been clear. These aren't just any homes.
These are dream homes. These are homes that people built to retire and to pass on to generations.
She wrote a letter to Governor Kevin Stitt looking for solutions, along with helping lead a rally at the Capitol with residents who fear they will be displaced.
Two turnpikes split up town.
Her opponent, Larry Heikkila, agrees. He says he's already been in touch with state senators looking for solutions.
The turnpike wasn't done correctly. It doesn't mean it wasn't done legally. What they're doing with the turnpike is completely by law because they have the law and the ability to change the law. We need to change it back to where we don't have problems with eminent domain.
He agrees with Mayor Clark that the road isn't good for the city.
I'm against it. I'm against what they're doing to the eagles, to the water, to everybody that's in the path.
It's going to cut through the middle of our rural part of our community.
Both candidates hoping to keep Norman united and not split up town.
The beauty of Norman is that dual character. You can have a loft on Main Street and go to Norman Music Fest, or you can have 20 acres out in East Norman and have a farm. And I love that dichotomy that we offer to residents, and that's being jeopardized right now.
You can vote for Norman Mayor tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and we'll keep you updated on the outcome of that mayor runoff as we hear more.
There is a proposal to allow for a northern extension of the Kickapoo Turnpike.
This comes as lawmakers from Norman try to stop construction of new toll roads south of the metro. Our Barry Mangold is live in studio to break down how both of those issues are now facing off at the Capitol. Barry.
Yeah, Amanda, Carl, take a look at this. House Bill 4088 would give the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority the ability to extend the Kickapoo Turnpike near I-44 north and then west to I-35. So if this bill passes, nothing would happen immediately. However, it would give the OTA the ability to build here in the future. Even though this bill has nothing to do with Cleveland County, one senator wants to amend House Bill 4088 so it prevents any turnpike construction in Norman. A bill focused on expanding Oklahoma's turnpike system has become a lightning rod for lawmakers opposed to new toll roads in Norman.
Amendment to strike out Norman.
Norman Senator Mary Boren is preparing an amendment to House Bill 4088, which gives the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority the ability to expand the Kickapoo. Her amendment would remove the state's authority to build toll roads in parts of Cleveland County. Norman representatives tried the same thing in the House last month, only to have the amendments quickly voted down. Boren is hoping that this time more Republicans join her.
We have a value system statewide that is bipartisan to not just continue to build toll roads until we have a plan to pay off the ones that we've already built.
And today, a spokesperson for the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority tells me they have no plans for any possible construction in the northern part of the Kickapoo proposed extension, that is. They have said that all of their focus is on the Access Oklahoma program, which is the 15-year plan for those new routes in Norman. Barry Mangold, Oklahoma's Own, News 9.
Cleveland County Commissioners vote no on a proposed turnpike expansion in Norman, saying they can't condone the state's plan. Our Jordan Daphnis is at the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority to explain the concerns. Jordan, good morning.
Good morning. Right now, the commissioners say that they're concerned about the impact this is going to have on residents that are in the path as well as wildlife. There's also a watershed at Lake Thunderbird, unique geological formations, and transportation. In their resolution, Cleveland County Commissioners say they want the Turnpike Authority to continue to show transparency on any and all studies conducted on this plan for expansion. Another hit for the Turnpike expansion project. The state senator from Norman is preparing a legislative attempt at removing the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority's ability to construct the new toll roads. Senator Mary Bourne told News 9 Monday she's preparing an amendment for House Bill 4088, authored by Representative Kevin Wallace of Wellston.
We have a value system statewide that is bipartisan to not just continue to build toll roads until we have a plan to pay off the ones that we've already built.
And a spokesperson for the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority says that right now they have no plans on an expansion of the northern Kickapoo Turnpike. They said all their focus is on Access Oklahoma. That's this 15-year plan that would expand out in the Norman area. Live this morning, Jordan Daphnis, Oklahoma's Own, News 9.
Again here at 5 with new concerns surrounding construction of a planned turnpike.
Now, that proposed toll road would stretch south of I-40, east of Norman, down to Purcell. But now some fear the path could slice through historic cemeteries. News 4's Ashley Moss is looking into it.
Transportation officials say that their plans won't impact cemeteries and other historical sites, but here in Cleveland County, residents are still concerned because the plans on the maps still come within several hundred feet. Current maps show Blackburn Cemetery with graves dating back to the 1800s, just feet away from the proposed path of the Kickapoo South Turnpike expansion. In a statement, the cemetery's caretaker saying many of those graves are unmarked, adding disinterment would create long-lasting and significant emotional trauma to the families, including my own family, as we have loved ones buried out there as well. Matt Pierce with the State Historical Preservation says his office consults when historical sites or cemeteries could be affected, but that they haven't been contacted yet.
Once they've decided upon a specific route, then that's typically when they will reach out to our office to initiate consultation. We'll say, great, here's what we think is here, here's what we expect to see, and then they'll do that work.
Transportation officials telling us today families can rest assured that their loved ones won't be moved from their final resting places.
The proposed route will not impact any cemeteries. We will not go over any grave sites. Even though we know that's a cemetery right now, we're not going to go and refine that until we do everything. We will check with national and state agencies to make sure what we're doing does not disturb any site that's protected.
Officials add the proposed route is just a starting point.
To start doing environmental impacts, we had to choose a route because you can't just do an environmental impact on all of Norman or all of Moore. You have to at least have a starting point, and that's what this proposed route is.
In Norman, Ashley Moss, Oklahoma's News 4.
All right, Ashley, thank you. In a follow-up email to News 4, transportation officials said they will also consult with the Oklahoma Historical Society and the Archaeological Survey before refining their project alignments. They also host public meetings later this month to give people a chance to speak about the issues they're concerned about.
It's places like here at Lake Thunderbird that Norman residents are concerned, saying this is their main source of drinking water, and the new proposed turnpike could impact that.
First and foremost, or because the proposed routes ring Lake Thunderbird and go directly through Lake Thunderbird's watershed.
A series of concerns from Norman residents, from wildlife to wetlands to their water.
Since Norman, Midwest City, and Dell City get their water from Lake Thunderbird, we could potentially be polluting our drinking water forever with these turnpikes.
Saying pollution from construction and traffic would dump into feeder streams, marshes, and wetlands.
Seeps into our aquifer that can get into household wells and create some problems with their drinking water.
The Turnpike Authority says they're in early stages of environmental impact studies that would address these concerns.
At this stage, we don't know what the impacts are going to be. Trained professionals out in the field that are going to walk these proposed alignments will be looking for habitat for threatened and endangered species, and we'll be looking for cultural resources, which is archaeological and historic sites.
The study should take around a year to complete and is done as design teams engineer the project, so experts can have a more detailed investigation of the area.
We're going to talk to all of the agencies that have authority and jurisdiction over all of those resources and the lands in terms of what the impacts are going to be.
Be a national tragedy. If the government does it, we call it progression. My wife told me that they had announced a turnpike on the 22nd of February. The map that Access Oklahoma has put out is clearly puts a blue road in an orange area of land they plan to take, and that orange area I've discovered covers my house to the main road that accesses my house. Development that made it worse for me was once I reviewed come through this path. If a tornado was to come through this path and wipe out all of these homes, it'd be a national tragedy. If the government does it, we call it progression. My wife told me that they had announced a turnpike on the 22nd of February. The map that Access Oklahoma has put out is clearly puts a blue road in an orange area of land they plan to take, and that orange area I've discovered covers my house to the main road that accesses my house. Development that made it worse for me was once I reviewed the governor's press conference. He makes a very, very bold statement that he needs to do this turnpike now because this land is undeveloped. The corridor is undeveloped, is his quote. Pasture land, farmland, is what he said. And so finding out that my house was going to be in this path, pretty devastating enough. Finding out that my governor felt like either he didn't take time to view and take time to see what actually was going to occur on the pathway they had chosen, or he didn't care and he's trying to sell it to the public. I am very well aware of the traffic. My wife drives I-35 every morning. From our perspective, if it was someone else's home that I had taken time to inspect what was happening, I wouldn't want her to be more convenient in her travel, just at the expense of hundreds of homes. I want to apologize to people of Hare. I had no idea that these folks were going through this. I didn't pay attention. And I am sure most people aren't paying attention to this unless they've got a friend or they're walking it. And those people, I am ashamed of me not being there for them when this happened to them.
Yeah, guys, that call was made by the committee's chairman, Senator Rob Sandridge, who in fact represents Norman. After the meeting, we asked him why this bill was delayed or held over in this case. He wouldn't go into specifics, just saying that he chose not to have that vote today. This was the committee room where House Bill 4088 was supposed to be heard today. Senator Mary Boren planned to introduce an amendment to the bill that would remove the South Extension project that has many residents in Norman worried about losing their homes. Even if the bill does get a vote in committee, though, Boren says there's no guarantee her amendment will be added on.
I really don't know how those political cards will be played. I don't know how road builders are influencing them. But I think in this situation, when you have 500 to 700 homes being eliminated and there's only 70-something houses for sale in Norman, then that ought to send a red flag.
Senator Boren not satisfied so far with the way the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority has handled the announcement and the subsequent reaction from residents.
Well, it's frustrating for them to say it's not that bad. It's not as bad as it looks, is what they're saying. But they're not giving you any concrete numbers or plan for what the toll would be.
This month, the OTA has scheduled 4 public meetings for residents who may be impacted. Previously, the authority has also said they'll continue to find ways to minimize the impact of the project. And with deadlines approaching, rather soon, actually in the next few weeks. In the next week specifically, they'll have to make a vote on this in a committee for it to continue along with the approval process. Reporting live at the Capitol, I'm Andy Weber, KOCO 5.
Thank you so much for coming and sitting down with us. You've just been slammed with questions. So starting off, there's been hundreds of questions about this southern expansion that you've had to tackle. Were you prepared for this kind of reaction?
These type of questions and the voluminous style of the questions is quite typical anytime you build a new highway or a freeway. People want more information. They're not exactly sure what's coming or what their future looks like. So yes, we were prepared, and that is why we have initiated a website called Access Oklahoma, and we're putting information out there all the time. That's the best place to get the most up-to-date information. And we have videos out there, podcasts, FAQs, all types of information, and we will update that regularly.
Are getting some new details to share about the legislative push to stop the Kickapoo Turnpike expansion. We've been talking about the growing outrage over the plan for weeks now. Capitol reporter Storm Jones is following one bill on the matter that's being debated under the Capitol Dome.
Yeah, Norman Senator Mary Bourne filed an amendment to that bill that would have pulled the Cleveland County construction off of the Turnpike project list. However, late this afternoon, fellow Norman Senator and Transportation Committee Chairman Senator Rob Standridge pulled the entire bill off of the agenda.
When you have 500 to 700 homes being eliminated and there's only 70-something houses for sale in Norman, that ought to send a red flag.
In a statement after the plan was announced, the Turnpike Authority said they selected alignments and connections to existing infrastructure that are the least impactful to homeowners, business owners, and the environment. Adding the value of a long-range plan like Access Oklahoma is that in many circumstances it provides us time to work more transparently, thoroughly, and thoughtfully with affected property owners.
It's frustrating for them to say it's not that bad. It's not as bad as it looks, is what they're saying. But they're not giving you any concrete numbers or plan for what the toll would be.
I asked Senator Standridge why he pulled the bill today. He said he just decided not to have a vote without giving specifics. And the deadline for that bill to pass out of committee is 1 week from today. At the state capitol, I'm Oklahoma's own Storm Jones.
Oklahomans showing up at the Central Oklahoma Master Conservancy Board meeting tonight, voicing concerns over the planned turnpike expansions near Lake Thunderbird.
And that board agreeing to send a letter to the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. Fox 25's Tom Ferguson has got your back with why the board wants to stay engaged in the planning process as the agency eyes construction in the area. He joins us live now. Tom.
Maria, while this board meeting wrapped up earlier this evening, concerns remain among a number of citizens about what this proposed expansion could mean for both drinking water quality and wildlife habitats. Now, Wildcare Oklahoma asked the board to pass a resolution against the expansion. The board explained it has to stay in lockstep with the Bureau of Reclamation on this, as that federal agency actually owns the land. A member of the public shared a letter at the meeting outlining what she describes as consistent disregard for the environment on behalf of OTA. Randy Carter, who opposes the project, says his house would get destroyed.
We hope that the OTA will take our ideas, our information, our concerns to heart and do what's right for everybody. I mean, I'm not against progress. I'm not against roads. I just want them to do it right. I want them to take care of the environment. I mean, it's a concern.
OTA is telling Fox 25 that it's taking action to protect the land around Lake Thunderbird. We obtained a statement from OTA on these concerns. You'll be able to read that in full on fox25.com. Reporting live from Norman, Tom Ferguson, Fox 25 News.
Trouble with the Turnpike again today as a Norman senator's effort to make a difference are stalled in the capital. OU Nightly's Brooklyn Suite is live in Oklahoma City with the story.
It's not what happened at the Capitol today that has many Norman residents upset. It's what didn't happen at all.
Senator Mary Boren posted on social media that she would be in a committee meeting to introduce an amendment to a House bill that would remove Norman from a list of Oklahoma Turnpike Authority projects. We showed up to that meeting and were surprised not to hear the amendment discussed. As the meeting adjourned, Senator Boren made another post, this time saying she asked Norman Senator Rob Standridge why the bill was laid over. Boren says the bill is being held by Standridge for leverage. We went by Standridge's office to talk to him, but no one was there. Boren suggested that Norman voters with questions contact his office for more information.
So no action today for Norman citizens trying desperately to stop this proposed turnpike, but there is still a sliver of hope that things may change. We'll keep you posted on what's to come. Reporting live, Brooklyn Sweet, OU Nightly.
Turnpike turmoil continues tonight in Norman, this time with concern over the city's water supply. You'll remember this all stems from a $5 billion proposal to build new turnpikes connecting a number of growing communities. News 4's Kaitor K is live with more. Kaitor.
The Conservancy District Board manages the water at Lake Thunderbird, which could be a threat from the proposed turnpike. So tonight, the board is letting the OTA know that they must be involved in the proposed turnpike's plans, according to federal law.
So this letter will be put on letterhead and sent to the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority.
The Central Oklahoma Master Conservancy District Board voting Thursday night to send a letter to the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority concerning their proposed turnpike, stating they, quote, expect to be actively engaged partners in the process moving forward. OTA currently plans to build the turnpike near Lake Thunderbird and within its watershed. COMCD is formally reminding them that they manage the lake through a contract with the Federal Bureau of Reclamation.
So the federal government requires certain evaluations when building something on their property. Evaluations of the environment, archaeology, geology, many different environment, in different assessments. So all we're stating is that we do have jurisdiction here, and you cannot cross BOR property, whether those are our pipeline easements, our flowage easements, or our real property, without conducting those assessments, and that is required by the federal government.
President Amanda Nairn emphasizing the magnitude of their responsibility as they provide quality drinking water to over 200,000 people in Cleveland and Oklahoma counties, not wanting construction to pollute the water. Turnpike officials telling News 4 they've heard the message loud and clear.
We understand that. We will work with the Bureau of Reclamation, we'll work with the Conservancy District to make sure that we're following all the guidelines as we go. And they will be side by side with us. We'll also have other U.S., federal, and state agencies making sure we're doing the right things.
The OTA now wants to hear directly from the public. Their first of 4 public meetings is scheduled for April 14th at Noble High School. Kaitor K, Oklahoma's News 4.
Evan and Jess, some have environmental concerns if the turnpike is built here next to Lake Thunderbird. We also talked to a man who says his home could be in jeopardy if that new road is built.
We're hoping to make people aware that the possibility of environmental problems with this turnpike going through the watershed for Lake Thunderbird.
Randy told me he's not a fan of the new turnpike plans.
The turnpike doesn't make any sense.
He says he's worried about the water quality with pollution from cars coming down to Lake Thunderbird if a new turnpike is built right next to it.
It would affect my well. It would affect the water for Norman, Midwest City, and Dell City.
But there's another reason he's against the new road. His own house could be a casualty. He says it's right in the proposed path.
I'm sure they would tear it down. I don't know how else they'd build a road there if that's where it's going to be.
Tonight at the Central Oklahoma Master Conservancy District meeting, members voted to send a letter to OTA saying their top priority is to preserve Lake Thunderbird and make sure quality drinking water is available to cities who use it. Randy thinks the current route could be changed to avoid the issue altogether.
If you look at it where the Kickapoo comes down, right there where it connects to I-40, you come straight south on the east side of Lake Thunderbird and connect down
to I-35.
OTA sent a letter to the Bureau of Reclamation back in March saying they would comply with the National Environmental Policy Act and provide environmental studies if the Turnpike needed to cross parts of Lake Thunderbird property. But homes could still be impacted.
I'm in the process of raising 6 kids there, and yeah, it's our homestead. I've lived there since 1979.
And OTA has said before that as more studies are done, the alignment of that new road could change slightly. Live in Norman tonight, Jason Berger, KOCO 5 News.
We don't have a choice. You drive I-35, you're wondering, why in the world am I sitting here in traffic? Why is this happening?
Heavy traffic, accidents, and frustrated drivers, all set to end.
I can tell you that for many years, if not decades, the I-35 congestion has been at the top of minds for folks in the transportation industry.
Officials say to alleviate traffic, the Access Oklahoma Turnpike is the only option.
Widening I-35, that's not an option. It's as wide as it can go. It is at full capacity. Rail, for example, that cannot move the amount of people, even touch it, the amount of people who are traveling I-35. It can't get anywhere close.
Saying they'll always look for and implement ways to create a better traveling experience.
This is the route that we have to take to provide motorists, travelers, the best experience, the safest experience, and the least timely experience, because it's about quality of life.
And that travel on I-35 right now can't be done in a reasonable amount of time and will only get worse.
We have to determine what's the best path to lead us to that lower time of travel. We believe this is it.
I asked the questions that you've wanted to know regarding eminent domain, money, and future turnpikes. You can find all of those questions and answers right here on the KOCO website. Elise Jones, KOCO 5 News.
There are still concerns over a proposed turnpike project that would destroy hundreds of homes in Norman. And 2 bills that address the issue hit some legislative roadblocks yesterday. Let's bring in Fox 25's Wayne Stafford. He's live at the state capitol right now. So, Wayne, what's the latest on this?
Well, Dan, there is one proposal that could potentially block the South Extension Turnpike in Norman, but it was laid over. Simply put, that it was not considered for a vote. Today we learned why and if this legislation has a second chance.
There's thousands of stories like this out there, and I'm just one of them.
We heard those stories this week and the fears from Norman residents over proposed turnpike project, and legislators are listening.
Taking out 600 to 700 houses is just too big a price to pay when there's other options that we have on the table.
An amendment to House Bill 4088 proposed by Senator Boren would prevent the OTA project, but it was laid over Thursday by Transportation Committee Chairman Senator Rob Stanridge. Stanridge's Senate Bill 1610 would call for more investigation into OTA projects, but would not block the Norman project. We tried to find out why Stanridge, who represents the Norman area, would lay over Boren's amendment.
He told me that he was trying to work something out over on the House side, that he had some matters pending that he was trying to work out. He said that there's some inside baseball going on.
We talked to her and she said that you told her something along the lines of inside baseball in terms of maybe trying to keep something on the table for negotiations of another bill. Is there any truth to that?
Well, I don't know. Inside baseball. Yeah, I don't know. It's odd to tell a reporter a comment like inside baseball. But anyway, yeah, I'll just tell you, Wayne, in light of that comment, that, Chairman of Appropriations bill, any senator that serves in the Senate would know that that is a futile effort.
Well, why was the bill laid over then?
That's we all make decisions on which bills move forward and which don't. So I don't want to get into that at all. But I'll just say that, I've been asked that. And so I want to make sure that's clear. I have no issue with the amendment. I have no issue. That had nothing to do with why the bill's laid over.
Senator Stanwich went on to say, quote, "In my 10 years, I have never seen an amendment be put on a chairman of appropriations bill in this fashion and make it anywhere," end quote. Now, the last chance for the amendment to House Bill 4088 to be voted on is next week. Senator Stanwich tells us that he hopes that his bill, Senate Bill 1610, will be voted on in the House also next week. Reporting here at the state capitol, Wayne Stafford, Fox 25 News.
Well, the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority faced a curious and at times furious crowd in Cleveland County over plans to build miles of new turnpikes. News 9's Barry Mangold's in the Noble area with their questions and answers from the OTA.
Thursday night's meeting was not a traditional town hall. More than a dozen engineers working on the Access Oklahoma project answered individual questions about the planned turnpikes. Some people, though, only came to voice opposition. An hour before doors even open, Lisa Meyer is handing out yard signs with a clear message.
We want to curtail the OTA. They're way too powerful.
More than 100 people packed into Noble High School Thursday night to hear directly from the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, many pushing back against the threat of eminent domain.
A lot of these folks didn't have a for sale sign in their yard when we're going to approach them. So we take that very seriously. It's the most difficult part of all of our jobs.
One of the planned routes runs from Noble to Newalla. Another runs towards Newcastle. OTA Deputy Director John E. Kelly says those routes are almost set in stone.
Unless there's something profound that we don't know about, it's probably going to be very close to the alignment that we're currently projecting.
They need to move it.
Virginia Sanders, a longtime Noble resident, says she hopes the route moves further away from the local school zones. She says the OTA's lack of flexibility on the routes is frustrating.
They're not responsible to anybody because they're self-funding. And I don't understand how this is America. Every government is supposed to be responsive to the citizens, okay?
The OTA is planning 3 more town hall meetings like this next week, one in Newcastle, one in Norman, and one in Moore. The state will begin issuing bonds to fund the construction as soon as early 2023. In Noble, Barry Mangold, Oklahoma's Own, News 9.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Topping our news, people are hearing from the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority right now about its contentious Access Oklahoma plan. The OTA is in Noble right now taking questions from the public about the plan. This is a live look outside the event. We'll recap it for you coming up later on tonight on News 9 at 10. Now, the town hall comes hours after the Turnpike Authority faced criticism from Oklahoma lawmakers about the multi-million-dollar plan. Many are disappointed with how it's all played out. Capitol reporter Storm Jones explains.
Yeah, questions centered around how many people will be displaced from their homes and businesses and why lawmakers weren't notified before the announcement, leading a Turnpike representative to admit the agency, quote, screwed up.
I'm just trying to get an answer. It is hard for us to get information.
The questions coming from the House Transportation Committee as they consider a bill to further study and slow down the plan expansion.
Would you explain the process to us about why the legislature did not hear about this until after it was announced to the public?
You've acknowledged that we've screwed up a little bit on some of that.
How and when were the landowners and businesses that are going to be impacted by this turnpike notified?
Routes were unveiled in January, and that's really when people started calling, and that's part of the rollout. I think we could have handled a little bit better.
Do you know how many businesses and homes will be affected or taken out?
We do not have that number right now.
How is that information not part of the equation?
Both the city of Norman and Cleveland County commissioners have formally opposed the plan that some say could impact up to 700 homes.
I'm not trying to be anti-progress at all, but also it does not need to be at the expense of people and their businesses, their livelihoods, and their homes.
7 yea and 2 nay. Representative Sterling, I declare your bill to have passed.
And the Turnpike Authority's first public meeting regarding the project just got underway in Noble. In all, there are 4 planned meetings over the next week alone. At the state capitol, I'm Oklahoma's own Storm Jones.
The Oklahoma Turnpike Authority holds its first information meeting for the public about proposed turnpike expansions in the state. Residents showed up in force to learn more and to express their frustrations.
Fox 25's Tom Ferguson has the latest on what Oklahomans are saying and what we're learning from the OTA tonight. Tom.
Right here at Noble High School, just before 6 o'clock this evening, there was actually a counter-protest to the OTA event. Organizers telling me they're not happy with this project. Oklahomans gathering in force to protest against the proposed turnpikes.
And it doesn't make any sense from a human impact. They said that they picked the route that had the least amount of human impact. That is a bold-faced lie.
What we don't know so far, what the turnpike routes will be and how many homes will be impacted.
I'm out here tonight talking to landowners who are affected by OTA's project, Access Oklahoma Plan. Let them know they have certain constitutional rights as landowners and that they're protected.
OTA Deputy Director Joe Eschel sharing an update on where things stand with the project.
So now we're working to get task orders written with the engineering firms and let them begin utilizing some of that survey and the information, again, that we're gathering tonight and that we're getting from other desktop surveys and things like that to work on trying to be the least impactful we can, both to the environment and to the homes and property owners in the area.
Civil engineer Amy Serrato arguing what she's seen so far does not look good.
If they moved it even 2.5 miles west or on the other side of the lake, they would take 450% less houses. And yet they can't tell us a number of the houses. So they're either lying or they're incompetent, or maybe it's a little bit of both.
This was the first of 4 planned OTA meetings to engage the public on this. Still many project details needing to be ironed out, and we'll be following where this goes. Live in Noble, Tom Ferguson, Fox 25 News.
Now to the ongoing turmoil over planned turnpikes in central Oklahoma.
One of those toll roads would pass east of Norman. Right now, hundreds of homes stand in the path, and tonight those homeowners taking their concerns and frustration straight to the Turnpike Authority at the first of 4 planned town halls. News 4's Kai Torque is live in Norman, where that first meeting just wrapped up a couple of hours ago. And Kai Torque, it was a packed house.
Yes, about 150 people were here tonight, awaiting their chance to finally directly ask the OTA if their home will be affected by the turnpike, hoping their uncertainty would be relieved. But everyone we talked to wasn't satisfied with the common response of, "I don't know."
It seems like it's more someone who's here to finesse an unhappy crowd rather than to genuinely engage with people's very legitimate concerns.
So no, I didn't get the information I wanted tonight. For the first time, homeowners taking their questions and concerns directly to the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority about the proposed toll road, putting dozens, possibly hundreds of homes at threat. Around 150 concerned citizens met at Noble High School, where tables were set up for them to talk with an OTA engineer and right-of-way acquisition specialist.
The goal tonight is to get information out on an individual level. We know a lot of these people have individual questions about their individual situation.
One of the most common questions asked about the turnpike.
If it is going to, take my property out, I'm interested to know that.
Everybody has an individual question about whether their home is going to be impacted or not. At this stage, I don't know.
OTA Deputy Director Joe E. Kelly says it could be 6 to 8 months before they know how many and which homes will be in the path of the turnpike, but says tonight's public meeting could possibly alter their plans.
All the information that we're gathering here tonight is vital.
But many are left wondering if OTA's open ear is sincere.
But a study is only as good as the intent that the people have that are doing it.
Tonight was the first of 4 public meetings. The other 3 all take place next week. For times and locations for those, head to our website, KFOR.com. In Noble, Kai Torque, Oklahoma's News 4.
Evan and Jess, this is 80th Avenue Southeast. You see here behind me, and the plans for the turnpike go right through this stretch of road. Now, neighbors out here say they're not very happy about this, but OTA says those plans are not final yet.
My home is in the path of the Turnpike and is currently slated to be destroyed.
When Darla saw the plans for the new Turnpike,
Absolute shock and horror.
she noticed the planned road comes right through 80th Avenue Southeast, and she fears her house and all of her neighbors could be in trouble.
My family is just stuck in this nightmare limbo for an unforeseen future where OTA has removed any power or choice or autonomy that my family had to make decisions for what we wanted to do with our own lives.
She says some have limited options.
Some of my neighbors have lived here for 30 and 40 years. At least my husband and I are young enough we can conceivably start over somewhere, not that we want to.
That's why she came to Noble High School tonight. OTA had staff available for locals to ask specific questions, mainly how their properties would be impacted and what options they have.
We're interested in finding out, anything having to do with unmarked or unknown graves. Those types of things are important, historical sites.
OTA says they want to have an open dialogue with property owners before the plans for the new road are finalized. Right now, there's still room to make changes.
Those alignments, those roadway, the locations of those are not set yet. We still think we're going to be within that orange section, that study area that's on our website.
But we're told the plans for the expansion won't change dramatically.
I'm going to say that we're going to be within that section, within that study area, about 95% of the time.
And both the City of Norman and Cleveland County Commissioners have opposed the Turnpike plans. Live in Norman tonight, Jason Berger, KOCO 5 News.
The Oklahoma Turnpike Authority got grilled yesterday by residents who oppose its new expansion plan and by lawmakers at the state capitol.
Our Caleb Califano continues coverage of the pushback to the proposal. He's live at the OTA. Caleb, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Robin and Lacey. Well, the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority is now admitting the plan they have for this Turnpike expansion, while subject to change a little bit, is pretty much going to stick with the route that they have right now.
That study footprint, that orange shaded section for the outer loop and the south extension, I'm going to say that we're going to be within that section, within that study area, about 95% of the time.
The proposed multi-billion-dollar plan would have two turnpikes running south of OKC. Many residents in Cleveland County believe the construction will affect or even demolish many homes. Yesterday, at their meeting in Noble with residents, the OTA told News 9 they know there are many who want this expansion stopped completely. The OTA says they also know the agency will have to get property acquisition from some people within the construction zone. And it's also difficult when designing these high-speed roadways because they have to stay straight for long periods of time.
Roads that are high speed are straight, and because they're straight, we can't turn and weave around individual neighborhoods and miss them all.
Meanwhile, over at the Capitol, the OTA admitted yesterday it, quote, screwed up a bit by not informing lawmakers before unveiling this project, and a bill that would delay the construction of the Turnpike Authority's plan just made it through committee yesterday. What it would do is require the OTA to do more research on how this plan would affect homes. We'll keep you updated with that story as well. We're live at the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. Caleb Califano, Oklahoma's Own News 9.
The Oklahoma Turnpike Authority held a meeting yesterday in Noble to answer questions from dozens of frustrated Oklahomans. The residents hoped OTA would find alternatives to the expansion. OTA says the routes will most likely stay inside their initial plan.